So today I want to talk about why a lot of people are kind of getting frustrated with Hanzo in Overwatch Season 10, and why a lot of people hate people that are making this character this season. Now, I do want to mention before we get started that personally I do think that the Hanzo rework was a step in the right direction. I think that his old kit was just not that good, not that possible to balance, and overall just really badly made. But the new kit is quite a bit better. I just think that the new kit is probably a bit too overpowered, and as well fits way better into this current meta than any other DPS, and that really can cause a lot of resentment. With that said though, guys, I guess let me get on to my first point about why people hate Hanzo mains in this new season, and that is that he kind of makes a lot of the other characters that were good for a long time almost useless. And I think as well, Hanzo's really one of the only characters that fits into the triple support meta, and that can also make a lot of people annoyed because they can't play their character while Hanzo's doing completely fine. Now, off to the first point. Hitscan heroes really can't do that much against Hanzo right now. And I think the easiest example, this applies to McCree, Soldier, and Widow always, but the easy example is, of course, McCree, which has a similar range to Hanzo, who has a similar-ish burst potential to Hanzo, but when you look at them side by side, Hanzo's just pretty much better in every single way. I think that's making a lot of McCree mains kind of angry because they also think that Hanzo's easier to play. So, Hanzo A, easier to play, Hanzo B, does more damage, Hanzo C, probably more consistent, Hanzo D has no damage fall off, Hanzo E can also happen to just get a headshot and AP one-shot anybody at any range, and he has a lot of long-range potential. I think overall, just a lot of people that like to play Hitscan that have been playing that for a long time just don't really like how this character is shoving their characters out of the game completely, and I do kind of agree. I wish that there was some way to maybe buff those characters up a little bit, make them a little bit better, and kind of get them on an equal footing to Hanzo, or just change them a little bit so that maybe McCree is better at closer range, and maybe Soldier's slightly better at further range. I don't know. I feel like they could really change something with that and make everybody happy in the long run instead of, doing what they're doing right now. Now, another thing I should mention right here is the Hitscan characters like Reaper and Tracer. Those characters also aren't having a very good time against Hanzo. Now, Reaper, there's not much you can do against Hanzo because even if you get the drop on him, he can just turn around E and 3-shot headshot you, or 2-shot headshot you or something. It's really easy. And if you can't do that, well, he can just body shot you and kill you because you have such a big hitbox. That's not that fun to play against, and he can jump away from you if you get the drop on him. Overall, if you don't one-shot him, you can't really do much. And if you're looking at Tracer, well, if Hanzo hits one storm arrow in the head, he instantly kills her. Yeah, overall, you can see how a lot of the people that have been playing characters that have been good for a long time may not like people that are playing a character that essentially completely shuts them down, and as well, isn't that fun to play against because it feels like you can't really do that much to counter this character. It feels like he can do everything that he wants to do, but it kind of stops everything that you want to do, which again, I think can be balanced out, but right now, that is a big thing that I think a lot of people are complaining about. Now, another thing I think a lot of people are complaining about is the fact that Hanzo seems like on paper that he should be an extremely high skill cap character, and I think it's because for 2 years, he was one of those. He was a character that only the few could pick up and play, like Raxu, and overall, you put in a ton of time and you eventually got results out of him, but very hard to play. But currently, I think people in almost every single elo are doing well with him. Doesn't really matter what rank you are, or doesn't really matter, or seem to matter, how skilled you are really. He's good in every single rank, and that isn't bad by itself. Characters do change, but I think a thing a lot of people are annoyed about right now is the fact that a lot of Hanzos are just kind of taking credit for him still being a hard hero, taking credit for him being more difficult than a lot of the hit scan, while at the same time, right now he's probably a lot easier than the hit scan. Right now his projectile hitbox is just huge. Right now he can just kind of counteract tanks without having to do way too much, and he can kill the characters with smaller hitboxes with being a lot less accurate. Overall, I think this isn't one of the biggest problems in the world, but it definitely is something that can kind of grind your gears if you're a hit scan main that suddenly is just being talked down to by somebody that's playing a character that really isn't way harder than your current character. I don't know. That's a thing I've heard from a few people. Maybe not too widespread of a problem. Now, to my third thing right here, I'm going to say that getting one shot by Hanzo all the time is just not that fun to play against. And I know that this, is just kind of how it works. It's just kind of how Hanzo's kit is going to work. His headshots are going to do like 200 damage. They're going to kill a lot of the characters in the game and almost every single non-tank hero. But, I mean, you just kind of have to agree. It's not that fun to just walk around a corner without having a shield in your character, so you're not Brigitte, and just being one shot because the Hanzo just shoots there at a lucky time. Again, sometimes it's calculated, again, sometimes it's not. But when you're playing against that, it often feels like, there's not that much skill there. It's just kind of luck that it hit you. And I think right now it is a lot more skill-based than it was in the past because, it is a lot more straight and narrow and more likely to hit because, it's 100 movement speed instead of 80. But I think at a certain point that also makes it even a little bit worse because it feels like you're getting hit all the time by these lucky shots. And again, while that's just kind of how the character has to be balanced, I think it's not that fun to play against. Now, a problem I have here is that we could try to fix this by nerfing Hanzo and making so that he doesn't one-shot headshot, but at the same time, I think that would make him a lot worse, and that would kind of get rid of his whole sniper aesthetic, which could be fine if they want to go for that, but I think the Overwatch team really does want him to be the other sniper in the game, and I don't think that's going to be how it is. Overall, I feel like he should lose something, because right now he is the best character at medium range and the best character at long range and a very good character at close range, so I think something should be changed so that he's not as annoying at every single range. But at the same time, I guess this is something they have to keep, but it is something that is very annoying that I wanted to mention. Now, another thing that's very annoying that I had to mention here was the Hanzo Zarya ult combo, and this is, a cool ult combo in the past, or at least I thought it was. Sometimes you'd have Hanzo, not that often. Sometimes you have Zarya, not that often. But when you finally put them together, you're like, hey, this is an awesome combo that we can finally do once in a blue moon. However, right now you see it almost every single game or every other game. And again, it's one of those things kind of like being one shot that just isn't that fun to play against, because the counter to this is have a Zenyatta. And in a lot of cases, even if you have a Zenyatta, the Hanzo can just press a Storm Arrow and kill somebody through the Zen'L as well, which is not that fun. Overall, it's just a combo that feels too easy to pull off compared to almost every single other ult combo in the game. And again, maybe it is fine the way it is, but it is kind of difficult and annoying to deal with, and it does force a certain counter pick every single game, which maybe that is how the game should be played, but as a player, it is kind of annoying to have to deal with that. And as well, it's kind of weird because right now we're in a meta where you want everyone to be grouping up, you want everyone to be playing next to each other, but at the same time, if you're doing that, then Zarya can get a ton of people in her ult, so you have to also not be grouping at the same time, and that's just kind of frustrating as a player right now, and Hanzo does kind of reinforce that. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it definitely is something that is one of those ult combo combinations that is just kind of annoying in the current meta. They show up almost every single meta, but just right now, Hanzo and Zarya happen to have the one that is super big right now. Now, Hanzo does have, all these benefits and some flaws, but I think the one thing that a lot of people are kind of frustrated with Hanzo right now is that he seems to kind of destroy his counters, which usually isn't what should happen. Now, I'm going to say right here that Hanzo isn't completely overpowered. I mean, he has far lower of a win rate than Brigitte. He doesn't even compare to that. But it feels like there really aren't any heroes that can beat him way too much one-on-one, or even as a team. And it feels like he's just such a consistent hero that you can't really swap to play against, other than having a god-tier Widowmaker. That's kind of it. And I think the really big problem right here is that Hanzo, normally in the past, kind of got destroyed by dive. You can kind of just jump on him, kill him, and maybe he'd get a good scatter arrow, but that's kind of his only counterplay. Right now, though, dive doesn't really beat him, even though you think that it would, because, he's a sniper, he should lose to that. But how it works is that Hanzo just charges up an arrow, people dive onto him, he shoots them with the regular arrow, and then the storm arrows, and he can burst again through just about any of the tanks in dive. And then if he can't kill any of them, he can just jump away, climb up, and make it really difficult to kill him. And I think that is frustrating to play against again. Kind of what it does is essentially not allowed for dive to ever exist or to be played with, because you can just kind of beat that out. And the only way to really beat the Hanzo is to have your own Hanzo with your own triple support comp or 2-2-2 comp. And I think that's just one of those things that's just kind of frustrating. I don't really like when the meta enforces itself by counteracting almost every single other meta. That I think is a problem. And I wish that the Storm Arrow would maybe do something so it wasn't quite as good against all these tanks. I mean, I guess it has to be pretty good. But maybe even just making so that it doesn't do headshots, so that the headshots aren't quite as powerful. I don't know, something. But I think overall, especially against dive, it does feel like he's just doing too much when he really shouldn't be doing that much at all. Especially when we already have Brigitte, who is completely destroying dive by herself. I don't think we also needed Hanzo to make Winston even worse. And overall, it just does feel like Hanzo's kind of a hero right now that doesn't really have any hard counters, and that can, in a skilled matchup, beat just about everybody, which I guess is fine. But, yeah, I wish that there were at least some more things to beat him out, because it feels like there aren't way too many right now. But anyways, there you guys go. That's why I think a lot of people kind of hate Hanzo mains right now. Overall, I guess as well, a good reason is that, you know, people haven't played Hanzo for years, but now they're finally picking him up in droves, and a lot of people just kind of get annoyed when people bandwagon on new characters that are good for once. So, you know, there's another thing, but that does apply to every single character, again, not just Hanzo. So I didn't want to go over that for way too long. Anyways, as always, guys, though, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below what you think of Hanzo. Do you like him? Do you hate him? Or what's in between? What part of his kit do you like? What part of his kit do you not like and would like to be changed a little bit? Or be buffed or nerfed? I'd really like to hear that. Anyways, as always, guys, though, thank you all for watching. Hit that sub button if you want to see videos like this in the future. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.